transition deadline elapsed. What do you make of this matter?
Well, we try to resolve the matter among ourselves.
And now that the Chief Justice is calling for a peaceful resolution of this matter before the transition deadline elapsed, what do you make of this matter?
Well, we try to resolve the matter among ourselves by alternative dispute resolution if it's possible, and by the application of reason and common sense, and bearing in mind the peaceful nature of our country and also the goodwill we have for one another.
And would it be a welcome move for my uncle or Barrister Gomez to given the fact that these election disputes are not matters that could be stalled, or they are matters that could, in other words, stall an inauguration? What would you advise your client?
What would I advise my client? Is to pursue their legal rights to the fullest. That's my advice.
What do we expect when we reconvene here in about a week time?
What we expect is for us to move the motions we are going to file for substituted service, for the other parties to be served.
Given that the Chief Justice have already said that, a panel of judges should be in place in order for the Supreme Court to move.
Yes.
And he made it very clear that, the case cannot move without the panel of judges being here.
That's correct.
So what is your reaction about this?
Well, my reaction is to wait until we have a full panel.
So
to legitimize anything that is done in court.
Your client, the president, is of the opinion that the inauguration wouldn't hold until the court decides on this matter. What is your take on that?
Well, that is his opinion. He's entitled to his opinion.
And yours, please?
Well, my opinion is that since there's a pending issue, it ought to be heard. But there's a rule of law that everybody is entitled to a fair hearing.
That's very right, but others are saying that is the right of the president, and you cannot deny him that. But also, others
president are you talking about?
The president, they said it is his right to go to the court.
Yes.
But others are also saying that it is the right of president-elect to be inaugurated.
Well, everybody is entitled to their opinion. But our opinion is that we have a substantive issue in court, and it ought to be heard according to the rights of the petitioner, according to law and the Constitution.
So essentially, unless the courts decide on this matter, there will be no inauguration, basically, your opinion.
Well, I'm not saying that.
Okay, given that, this case cannot proceed unless and until these judges are in. And, the Chief Justice has already made it very clear that the next session should start in May and November. What is your advice to the general public as far as this inauguration is concerned?
Is that we wait until the due process of law takes place.
Does the inauguration wait until the process takes place?
Well, that's what I'm saying. The status quo remains.
Thank you very much.
That was Edu Gomez, the frustrated and failed lawyer of the APRC.
He's been in power for more than 20 years, but Yahya Jammeh has never faced such a serious threat. It's not so much the street protests, more the unity of the opposition parties that could take away his grip on power. Even if he's unnerved, though, it's not showing, as he boasts that 2 decades of his rule has done more for the country than anything else.
You couldn't have gotten it over 1 million years of British colonialism in the Gambia.
Jammeh, 55 years old, is ruthless and eccentric. He's been condemned by the United Nations, the African Union and a plethora of other institutions for repression, ordering violence against the opposition and destroying a free press. He's overcome a series of coup attempts, yet it was Jammeh as an army lieutenant who led a coup that succeeded back in 1994.
We have no plans to stay long. All we are here for is to set a just system and to put up structures that will ensure that what happened in the past 30 years would never happen again.
No plans to stay long? Well, Jammeh has held on to power for more than 2 decades with dubious elections. At home, he puts over the image as the father of the nation, and in 2007 declared he'd found a cure for HIV/AIDS. He demonstrated his herbal treatments to Al Jazeera and revealed that his patients had to give up antiretroviral treatments. It wasn't possible to verify his claims of success.
If I fail, I would have failed them. I would have disappointed them. And the consequences will be very drastic for me as a person. It's not fun. Coming out and treating these people is not fun. They only have their hope in me. It's a big burden. Morally, spiritually, and psychologically. I'm not a president that makes mischief in the world.
To his opponents, even if he admitted to being a mischievous president, it would be a gross understatement. For anyone who may doubt the level of fear he causes in the Gambia, one statistic stands out. This tiny country of 2 million provides the third biggest number of people migrating to Europe, while Jammeh insists he's loved by all his people. Andrew Simmons, Al Jazeera.
I have to also say that Africa's democratic progress is also at risk when leaders refuse to step aside when their terms end. Now, let me be honest with you. I do not understand this. I am in my second term. It has been an extraordinary privilege for me to serve as the President of the United States. I cannot imagine a greater honor or a more interesting job. I love my work. But under our Constitution, I cannot run again. I can't run again. I actually think I'm a pretty good president. I think if I ran, I could win. But I can't. So there's a lot that I'd like to do to keep America moving, but the law is the law. And no one person is above the law, not even the president. And I'll be honest with you, I'm looking forward to life after being president. I won't have such a big security detail all the time. It means I can go take a walk. I can spend time with my family. I can find other ways to serve. I can visit Africa more often. The point is, I don't understand why people want to stay so long. Especially when they've got a lot of money. When a leader tries to change the rules in the middle of the game just to stay in office, it risks instability and strife, as we've seen in Burundi. And this is often just a first step down. I have to also say that Africa's democratic progress is also at risk when leaders refuse to step aside when their terms end. Now, let me be honest with you. I do not understand this. I am in my second term. It has been an extraordinary privilege for me to serve as the President of the United States. I cannot imagine a greater honor or a more interesting job. I love my work. But under our Constitution, I cannot run again. I can't run again. I actually think I'm a pretty good president. I think if I ran, I could win. But I can't. So there's a lot that I'd like to do to keep America moving, but the law is the law. And no one person is above the law, not even the president. And I'll be honest with you, I'm looking forward to life after being president. I won't have such a big security detail all the time. It means I can go take a walk. I can spend time with my family. I can find other ways to serve. I can visit Africa more often. The point is, I don't understand why people want to stay so long. Especially when they've got a lot of money. When a leader tries to change the rules in the middle of the game just to stay in office, it risks instability and strife, as we've seen in Burundi. And this is often just a first step down a perilous path. And sometimes you'll hear a leader say, well, I'm the only person who can hold this nation together. If that's true, then that leader has failed to truly build their nation. You look at Nelson Mandela. Madiba, like George Washington, forged a lasting legacy, not only because of what they did in office, but because they were willing to leave office and transfer power peacefully. And just as the African Union has condemned coups and illegitimate transfers of power, the AU's authority and strong voice can also help the people of Africa ensure that their leaders abide by term limits.
Is Gambia on a path to turmoil? After conceding defeat, President Yahya Jammeh has now changed his mind and is rejecting the result of the presidential election. What are the hurdles to a smooth transition of power? This is Inside Story. Hello, welcome to the programme. I'm Adrian Finnegan. He's reputed to be one of the world's most repressive and eccentric leaders who vowed to rule Gambia for 1 billion years, if God willed. Following the presidential election 10 days ago, Yahya Jammeh shocked many by accepting defeat to his rival Adama Barrow. Jammeh's conciliation was seen as the start of a new era of democracy in the smallest nation in mainland Africa. Now, though, it appears that Jammeh won't be relinquishing power after all. Will his demand for a new election mean turmoil for the country, and how can a peaceful transfer of power be achieved? Those questions we'll be putting to our guests right after our report from Mohammed Val.
1 week after his acceptance of defeat, Gambian President Yahya Jammeh now says the election was rigged and the vote should be repeated.
I hereby announce to you Gambians my total rejection of the electoral results and thereby annulling the elections in its entirety, and until we will go back to the polls, because I want to make sure that every Gambian has voted.
The announcement drew prompt condemnation from the US government and defiance from the president-elect.
The outgoing president has no constitutional authority to reject the result of the election and order for fresh election to be held. The IEC is the only competent authority to announce the results of election and declare a winner. It was already done so, and I am now the president-elect.
Barrow has called on his supporters to remain calm and to prepare for his inauguration in January. And he wants Jammeh to allow a smooth transfer of power.
I urge him to change his current position and accept the verdict of the people in good faith for the sake of the Gambia, our homeland.
Jammeh is a former military officer who has ruled the Gambia for 22 years. During his time in office, political opponents have disappeared or have been thrown in jail without trial. The country has suffered from economic and political isolation. Jammeh has won all the previous elections his government organized. So it surprised many around the world when he conceded defeat last week in the recent election. His rival Adama Barrow won 45.5% of the vote, while he got 36.7%.